Dr. Vincent Wani is here with us. He's a business and investment consultant. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
So, yes, indeed, 100 days on, many are looking to see where are we in the scheme of things regarding the target that the government has set for themselves. How is the economy performing? You checked. What did you find?
I found a huge gap between the targets and the actual achievements
Could it be
over
it's
the
just
last.
100 days?
No, we can't call it just 100 days because we are fortunate to have a government in continuum, former government continuing. So, if it is a brand new government, we say, okay, you are still setting your agenda, but this is just a government we believe that should work very fast to consolidate on the achievement or on the target set during the first term.
Okay, so now, this first 100 days, what did you find? Did you see, could there be indication of what's to come? How have policies, how has it played out this first 100 days of the second time?
Yeah, these first 100 days, we've seen policies that are somehow, I can say, reactive, mostly fragmented and largely uncoordinated over the last 100 days. And let's even walk back a little bit. There are some local and international realities that actually define the outcome we've seen over the last one. Of course, 100 days is too short to judge a government, but we've seen the government that's coming over the last 4 years. In terms of security, because I had the media senior assistant to the president talking about security. We've seen insecurity heightened and killings heightened over the last 100 days, up to 6th or 7th of September. About 902 incidents of whether it's a kidnapping, whether it is armed robbery, whether it is whether it's terrorists, Boko Haram, across the country.
That's according to?
Yeah, according to the scorecard report, which I generated, an analyst report during the week, and we recorded almost 6,000 fatalities across the country. In fact, the insecurity issue is now more widespread. It's no longer mostly domesticated in the Northeast.
For this first 100 days, right?
Yeah, during the first 100 days.
What kind of response did you see in terms of how they've handled it or how they've approached it?
At least the ministers were announced 2 months after. We thought the minister should come. The first time it was 6 months after. Now we saw 2 months after. We thought it should be almost immediately after taking over, or after swearing in. So this, and of course, the minister coming 2 months after impacted on investor confidence, both local and international investors. What are the policies we're talking about now? The policy document of the government, current government.
But still on the security.
Yeah.
In terms of how they've handled it, they've responded in some way. They didn't just sit and fold their arms, did they? So what impact did that make? Because we've seen some other state governors too doing something about security, and the government themselves too doing some things about security. So did you factor all of those in? Did they affect the confidence of people, or did they affect the circumstance in the 100 days?
As far as security is concerned, the confidence of people is almost at the lowest level. And you can see that the response, the aviation, the traffic, people that can't fly and cannot afford to fly, just have to fly now because the roads, whether it is in the day or in the night, across the country is very, very, very dangerous. Aviation.
I'm asking about the security component.
Yeah.
Because when all of this happen, people also look to say, okay, look, what has been done? How has it been approached? Did you pay any attention to it?
We're looking at scorecard here. And scorecard look at outcome, not input. Input is about what was done. It is for government to say what they are doing. My responsibility is to look at what is the result on ground. You can generate 10,000 megawatts of power. My interest is how many hours of day or months did am I getting uninterrupted power supply?
So
the scorecard is about outcome. Quality of life, quality of business, not about what government have done.
Does that scorecard that you see, does it indicate that government is fully aware of the realities on ground across Nigeria?
Yes, of course. They have their ears on ground. It indicates that they are fully on ground.
What I mean is, do they think the results that you have seen, do they indicate to you that government is fully aware of what the daunting challenges are, and are they taking appropriate action to address them as quickly as many people expect?
I believe they are aware of the daunting problems, like you rightly suggested. Whether they are taking the appropriate step to address this problem remains to be seen. it remains to be seen. And
You talked about the policies. You don't think those policies cut it as yet?
yeah, because if you're talking about policy, we set ourselves a target to achieve 4.1% GDP this year. We're doing 1.94% now, from 2.1% in the first quarter. So even in terms of growth,
What in your opinion are the inhibitions to that target, to government meeting those targets, especially that growth target you talked about?
there are inhibitions. So, some are legacy issues which which this government and previous government should have addressed, such as infrastructure, like the president said now through the senior special assistant. But in terms of what they should be able to do, like unlocking the potentials of the private sector through sector-driven policies, laws, and regulation, we are not yet to see. It's a government that created the telecom sector all of us are enjoying today. We want to see that type of law and regulation and policy that will create a brand new sector or revolutionize an existing sector so that it becomes a force to be reckoned with. We are yet to see such intervention.
When you speak about policies, that are they both local and international policies as well?
You cannot separate local and international policy, but we're even talking about policies that incentivize investment. Remember that the ERGP spoke about the target government set for itself, that over the next 4 years, 5 years from the day the ERGP policy was, that certain amount of investment will happen in the country. Out of that is about 300 billion US dollar worth of investment, out of which federal government will do about $30,000, and the remaining 270 billion US dollars will be attracted through their policy.
Speaking of that, sorry for butting in, I was taking a look at the total value of capital importation into Nigeria, and I saw, according to the NBS, that it decreased by about 31.41% in second quarter compared to the first quarter. So does that give credence to what you're saying?
Exactly. That is the vote of confidence that international community, whether Nigerians or non-Nigerians living outside the country, bringing money either through FDI, through FPI, any form of remittances into the country, that is already a vote of confidence we're talking about. And what are the triggers to this vote of confidence? Waiting for the government to appoint ministers, and these are the people we know before. After 2 months, we'll likely impart them. Of course, we also see, this is outside their own control now. Oil price, trending down from 75 to something 60, during the period. But we can't control oil price, but we can control the quantity we are pumping. The pumping quantity we're also pumping have, other trend.
Even with the fact that we belong to OPEC?
anyway, but of course, we're doing less.
And it's been
we're doing less
stable
than
in the Niger Delta?
Yeah, it's stable, but we're doing less than the budget benchmark. No, we're still doing less than 2,000 barrels per day as we speak. So these are the issues these are what we call the scorecard. This is what we call the outcome. What happened and what is the result as we're seeing. So across some of the key macroeconomic scorecard, you find the red 5 and the green, the side that we're doing well, about three greens, such as inflation, because inflation rate is still trending down, and that is appreciated, and we needed to comment.
So what does that mean to the average man out there when the inflation rate is in green?
It means that the prices of goods and services, on the average, is trending down. But if you ask a common man in Nigeria, he may say that he's not feeling that. The electricity generation of course.
No. Before you move on that inflation rate thing, ultimately, the question Chimberlain asked is what gives you credence. Ultimately, if it doesn't reflect in the livelihood of the people, there really isn't much happening. So,
But it's in green.
In fact, yeah,
it's in green on the board, but it's not. Is it in green in the pocket of the average Nigerian?
Speaking to the average Nigerian, which this report tried to at least carry out some quick survey. When you hear that president have performed, what is the thing you want to hear? And the people are saying, we want to see a secure transport system and infrastructure. He wants to see it. I should be able to afford quality health care, in an affordable way. I want to send my children to school, quality school, and paying less or even paying nothing. These are what they see as president performance. President may have built 20 schools, but none of the schools are connected to internet. They are still using chalkboard. And president said, I'm trying, but to the parent, he doesn't believe the president have done anything.
I'm trying to understand this principle. So if you say it's ingrained the inflation pattern, that's good. And you say, well, whether the people feel it's a different kettle of fish, doesn't the same principle apply if it's in red? They can also say, well, whether you feel it is also a different kettle of fish. So what works here applies here as well, doesn't it?
Well, it may apply, but all of us live in the country, and we realize that how many hours do average Nigerian have electricity today? 4 years ago, when we did this same survey, it was 13 hours per day. On the average, some people doesn't have. Some people have 20 hours. On the average, 13 hours. Today, across the country, it's 8 hours.
Okay. Take us through this one. You call them the key policies, key policy responses in the first 100 days.
Yeah, you spoke about the policies, of course. We've seen that, of course, some policies happened. The FRS have said they are going to start collecting online tax on online transaction effect from January 2020. These are some of the policy responses: closure of the border, signing of AMCOM bill so that the government will be able to assess the details of debtors. But the issue is that these policies are not robust.
Let me see if I can take them one after the other, maybe some of them. This first one,
okay.
What could this implication be? Because you have this transaction online, those who own these firms, who many of them feel, even those who perform those transactions, they just feel, look, they don't see any reason why that should be the case, because if they're trying to eke out a living and you're coming into tax, because we talked about the informal sector, how many of them they're even reluctant to come into the formal sector in the first place. Say, leave us where we are, we're fine with that. What could this mean?
To government,
people.
Yeah, to government, it means
increased
increased revenue to run the government.
Yeah, I mean,
for infrastructure. For me and I, for me and I believe we have to adjust to that. A lot of huge online transactions happen even through international platforms. The Alibaba of this world, you say? Well, I believe it's a good idea to ask for government to generate the type of tax they need to generate for anything we do. It's legitimate. I believe it's a good idea, provided government do it and do it right.
Now, I know this is not your policy. Yeah. I know, so I shouldn't include. But just to put it out there, I mean, I remember making a transaction recently. I paid for a particular service, and there was a charge on it. It was 105 or 150. So what is that? Is that...
Maybe you would have asked your bank, because there are charge on online transaction. Even moving your phone from account A to account B. So we don't know whether it is VAT, whether it is stamp duty.
So maybe wait. Before government come up with this, the banks have taken it. So go take it from the banks.
I'll probably be paying extra.
I think with this, we should be able to call FRS to maybe a public forum to clarify some of these things. But
no, but this is 2020.
Yeah.
January 2020. Yeah. So that hasn't started.
No.
Yeah. The essence of this slide is just to show that during the period, let it not look like government have not done anything of holding their hands. These are some, and not all, policies that were rolled out. But are these policies enough to trigger the type of prosperity, economic prosperity we want to see? The answer is no.
Okay, sorry. Talking about triggering, that second one, talked about restriction of Forex on milk and more food items. Do you think it's strong enough a position of government? I don't want to call it policy. Do you think it's a strong enough position of government to trigger the small and medium, enterprises to jump in the fray?
Of course, this is another big discussion, and we've been talking about it. It's fine. The first shock the private sector received is when we hear that government directed the CBN. That was direct, also impacted on investors' confidence. That government shouldn't direct CBN. CBN should be seen as an autonomous institution. Having said that, the owner of this FX is government, and they give it to who they want to give it and for what reason. So they also have, but recognizing and realizing that Nigeria is still a little bit far from being sufficient to produce some milk, and how much they're able to control and protect our border from smuggling we're seeing all over the country is another issue. Today, we have about 19 million cows in Nigeria. 19 million cows, and some of these cows trek at least 3 kilometers a day. Ability to produce milk less than 1 liter. In a country like Netherlands, where we have just 17 million people, about 230 million well-fed cow exist that produce about 18 liters
of milk in a day. And that is why Netherlands is one of the biggest importer of cheese and milk and milk products in the world. So how much are we sufficient locally to respond to banning Forex on milk remain to be seen.
So looking at those policies now, how would you rate them? How effective have they been? How much have they impacted on the economy of this country?
These are policies just rolled out less than 3 months ago. Some just two or less than some 2
So
weeks
it's
ago.
perhaps too.
So it's too early to gauge them.
Okay, I'd like you to respond to something the APC national chairman said. Now, this is what he said during the weekend, saying about the president. His 100 days, that you can't call him Baba go slow. I'm sure you probably heard that. That now he's Baba fast. And he gave out some of the reasons he believes. He said in 2015, after 100 days, the president had not appointed ministers. And now, within a few days, he had appointed ministers.
2 months.
And then, exactly 2 months, to be clear. And then he talked about the current issues in South Africa. And just to put this in perspective, 103 days as today is 71 working days, 568 hours, assuming it's an 8-hour workday. So do you agree with the APC national chairman that this time it's Baba fast, according to him?
You're putting me on the spot, you know.
I mean, you have the indices. You've shown us the scorecard as it is. So do you agree?
Well, let me reserve. I'm not a politician or joining issues or representing any group. You know, so I think I will leave it. I'll leave it at that. The basis of this analysis is to show that as government and as this administration move into its mainstream after 100 days, it's important to give them just something like a report card that will trigger them.
So the question is
action.
the administration moving fast enough? I think I should just re-clarify. Is this fast enough?
Even the person that made the statement, in his subconscious mind, know that we are not where we should be and we are not moving, we are not leaping as fast as we should leap to get to. Because if we want to grow this economy, we can do it. China grew for 10, 15 years, 10% on the average. And we're doing 1.5%, 1.9%. They are talking about speed. We are not even walking, not to talk of running.
So, Dr. Owani, tell us how or what should government be doing now to ensure that things go a little quicker?
I'm happy they are handling this P and ID judgment debt, and we appeal to them to handle it because 3% of Nigerian GDP in Naira and Kobo is involved. You know, that's also sending some signal to investors. You know, but the most important thing is for them to begin to reorient themselves that what they are being measured against is not what they did, but what came out from what they are doing. It's very, very important. It's not what they are doing, but what is the outcome of what they are doing. And okay. And
I just wanted to ask, you know, what kind of support do you see government agencies at the various, levels, offering to jumpstart the economy, as you put it? You must have seen the Auditor General's report, that indicted some key agencies, and it's quite a very elaborate report there, indicting many, many agencies of government and officers.
So that's still on solutions. What should they be doing?
So how do you see those agencies of government working?
They have to collaborate a little bit more. In the larger or the expanded report, which is now in the newspaper, the report was very clear that one of the issues is that most of these agencies, key agencies, work in silos, as a spirit-led type of approach. Most of them not even reactive instead of proactive. There still need to be synergy and a lot of coordination. We should see this government as a project, and visionary, trying to achieve something,
one more.
and unlock this economy. Look for sectors to make those important bills.
That's what give your recommendation.
In the oil and gas, even if the whole world is leaving oil and gas, we still need oil and gas to leave oil and gas. Something needs to be done. Whatever government need to do to drop politics aside and open up that sector, starting from the 4 outstanding bills. Some of them passed, not yet signed. Something needs to happen to that before the end of the first 1 year.
Any suggestion on reducing interest rates?
We will keep on suggesting that, but if you are reducing interest rates and security is still a challenge, power is still a challenge. In fact,
I saw power, it was in green.
You know what? And I said that what is in green is because we have more output. Of course, this is rainy season. So the plants are firing a little bit more. But
I'm not the one who put it in green.
but how much we're seeing the bulb shining? in the factories and in the house remain what it used to be 8 hours on the average per day. So we want government to sit back and see how much our businesses.
What about private sector? Aren't they the largest? Yes, government has a role. Does the private sector, have they demonstrated that capacity? Have they taken their pride of place?
They are taking pride of place, but looking at the inhibiting factors,
Which
and
are?
I've mentioned security now. Security have always been there, but it is now worse, and everybody knows it's worse. Something needs to happen to that. Power is always there. You mentioned interest rate, but we're trying to work around interest rate. Exchange rate was a big issue 2 years ago, We are beginning to adapt to all of those things, but something just needs to happen about security.
All right, then. There you go. Dr. Vincent Wine is a business and investment consultant. Thank you for your time this morning. Well, that is the show today. Thank you all for watching. We will be back tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
I'm Kayode Okikiola.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. We say have a wonderful day.